Looking around the world, where is the most worthy city to buy property today? Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia. Why? In 2018, Phnom Penh has become the top 1 city of Global House Price Index and the top 1 city of Overseas Property Investment Return Index. Why has Southeast Asian cities increased in the rankings? What is going on in the global real estate industry? How can investors seize the opportunity? NICETV Fortune Express will invite Mr. Rupert Hoogewerf, Chairman and Chief Researcher of Hurun Report, and Mr. Michael Wang, Chairman of RF Property Cambodia, one of the most famous real estate brands in the world. Top 1 city, Phnom Penh. Top 1 dialogue. Today, 9 p.m. only on NICETV.
Phnom Penh, the capital city of Cambodia, saw its biggest rise in the global housing price as well as the biggest global property return on investment 2018. Why Phnom Penh? Why Phnom Penh is so attractive to global investors? NICETV Fortune Express has a special program tonight. Top 1 city Phnom Penh. We'll have a global exclusive online interview to report publisher Mr. Rupert Hoogewerf and invite authoritative experts together to participate in a dialogue. Now let's take a look at this 2-index report.
Hurun Institute on January 23, 2019, released the Hurun Global House Price Index 2018. Phnom Penh, Cambodia saw its biggest rise in global housing price in the last year, up as high as 16.7%. The second highest rise in house prices was Budapest in Hungary, up as high as 16.2%. Coming in third place was Xi'an of China, up as high as 14.6%. Chinese first-tier cities such as Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen were not in the top 50 of the list in 2018. Let's take a look at the housing price growth in ASEAN countries. Bangkok in Thailand ranked 31st. Manila in the Philippines is a new city on the report and ranked 20th. Singapore ranked 28th. On the other hand, Canadian and Australian real estate investors are selling the property due to declining housing prices for nearly a decade. Looking back on 2016 to 2018 index, although the growth of global housing prices was slow, Southeast Asian real estate has become a new hotspot for investment. Hurun Report released its Global Property Return on Investment 2018. Phnom Penh, Cambodia, as a global emerging real estate market, saw its return on investment rise up to 29.4%. It is ahead of second place Las Vegas and third place San Jose cities in America. For return on investment in ASEAN countries, Manila is ranked 23rd place. Singapore ranked 31st place. And Thailand ranked 11th place. Meanwhile, Phnom Penh, with its rental yields of 6.5%, ranked in the top 4 according to Hurun Report Top 10 Cities with Rental Rates 2018.
Welcome back. Beside me in the studio is our special guest for tonight, Mr. Michael Wang. He's the chairman of RF Property Cambodia. Hello, Michael.
Good evening.
All right, now let's connect to the chairman and chief researcher of the Hurun Report, Mr. Rupert Hoogewerf, who is currently in Shanghai, China. Hello, Mr. Rupert. Could you please introduce yourself to the audiences in Cambodia and other ASEAN countries?
Okay, thanks very much. My name's Rupert Hoogewerf. I'm the chairman and chief researcher of something called the Hurun Report. We're a media organization and a research organization based in China, in Shanghai, and also in India, in Mumbai. And I'm a Brit, and so I'm born and bred, if you like, in the UK, but I've been living and working in Shanghai for the last 20 years, give or take. And then we became famous in China for doing something called the China Rich List, which is a listing of the richest people in China, which is an amazing list, I tell you. But we also recently been doing a global rich list. I think we have one Cambodian on that global rich list as well. But I suppose for this today, we've been looking at the house price index. So that's a brief introduction as to what we do. We have about 150, 200 people working for me globally.
Thank you very much, Rupert. Why did you want to produce these two index reports, Global House Price Growth Index 2018 and High Net Worth Individual Global Property Return on Investment 2018? How did you collect the data to form these reports?
Well, thanks very much, Vietnam, for that. I mean, the Chinese luxury consumer, or if you like, the Chinese high net worth family, over the last 10 years have been looking to do more and more investments outside China. And that's been driven because they want to diversify away from having all the eggs in a China basket, but to have the eggs also in some of the other baskets around the world. So that's about 4 years ago, give or take, I started doing the Global House Price Index, but also the Global House Price Return on Investment Index, if you like, both in association with a company called Sweet Home. And the idea was basically to try and understand which of the countries, from a Chinese point of view, that are, first of all, quite attractive, and the cities which are attractive, and secondly, what is the change in house prices that we're seeing. So that's what we set out to achieve. And so the first one was just looking at the house price index, so basically looking at what percentage change in local currency was there on the house price, and comparing that in China. And then the second one was looking at doing a foreign exchange. So if you're a Chinese investor and you're looking to invest overseas, it's not just about your house price index, but you should also factor in your rental yield and also the currency appreciation or depreciation. So that's sort of what the purpose of the list is. One things that when I was doing the list myself, we basically, two things that we really have to think about. One is which countries and cities do we include in the list? So we have a pool of about 150 countries, 150 cities, I should say, of which something like 15 to 20 come from the US, about 15 to 20 are from Europe, and then we've been looking at other cities around the world. So first we come up with a pool of cities, then we try and source the house price data, so the rental yield and also the price increase and decrease. And then we put the two together and we come up with our half annual, so it comes every 6 months, we come up with the Global House Price Index and also the Return on Investment Index. Just to finish, I'd say that the target audience are the high net worth families. So they're the people that I'm trying to influence. They're the ones who are going to be reading this list and trying to understand where they should be putting their money. So house price change year on year is clearly a very important topic, but it's much more than just a house price. It has to be return on investment, because if you put your money into US dollars or you put it into, I don't know, Japanese yen, then that's going to have an impact anyway, because the renminbi will be appreciating or depreciating against these currencies. So that's why that's how we come up with the return on investment index as well.
Thank you, Rupert. How was the performance of Phnom Penh, the capital city of Cambodia, in these two lists? Why are you focusing on Phnom Penh city?
Well, the first thing that we did this year is that we added in a handful of new cities. And in the last year, there's been a very, very strong interest from China into Southeast Asia. And I would say especially Cambodia. So we hadn't had Phnom Penh, the city of, on our list last year. But when we added into this list, I was totally surprised when I saw that the house price had gone up by something like 17% year on year to the end of December on average. But not just that, when you factor in the currency depreciation, or the appreciation of the renminbi to the currency, and then also the rental yields, then Phnom Penh was not just the world's #1 fastest house price growth city in the world, but it was also from a Chinese perspective, going to produce something best part of 29% return on investment, which was something like 17% is the house price increase, 6% is your rental yield, plus 6%, give or take, was the appreciation of the currency, if you like, compared to the renminbi. So if you add those three things together, you've got 16 plus 6 plus 6, basically get a 29% increase. So if you're a Chinese investor and you were thinking of putting some money into Cambodia, let's say like last year, and you missed your opportunity, well, let me tell you, you're going to have to put down 30% more to get the same amount of, to get the same sort of return on investment. I mean, it's huge. It's a really big story.
Thank you, Rupert. I want to ask that why Phnom Penh won top 1 when it first appeared on the index list? What are the factors that drive Phnom Penh to become the city with the fast-growing housing prices and the highest global property return on investment?
Well, I think there's a number of factors here. I mean, first of all, Cambodia's economy has been growing by, 7% for the last 6 or 7 years. So, I mean, there's a very strong growth underlying the economy. I think secondly, from a Chinese perspective, it's a very attractive destination for investment because it's close. There's a very strong relationship with Cambodia from the political leadership. I understand that the Prime Minister of Cambodia was visiting China earlier in January. So there's a very strong political connection. And then I think you've also got the fact that a lot of the currency is based on the US dollar. So that makes a big attraction because for many Chinese who are looking to invest overseas, having the ability to invest into the US dollar makes real estate in Cambodia, if you like, extra attractive. So I think those are some of the factors, but it's not just Phnom Penh that's coming up. I've been hearing quite a lot about Sinoville has been growing also very fast, and just in general, I think there's a huge demand here in China to buy property internationally, and it just seems that Cambodia is the right place at the right time at the moment.
Let's have a question for Michael. Michael, what do you and your friends from the real estate and financial circle think of the 2 index lists released by Mr. Rupert Hoogewerf?
Since the release of the Hurun global list in the 2018, my friends is always discuss this list. This is a formation of the Phnom Penh's economic developer in the recent year. And one of the real estate developer in Phnom Penh, we are the part of it, and I am looking forward to the future development of the city in Phnom Penh.
Thank you very much, Michael. So why do you think Phnom Penh has become the city with the biggest global property rise?
I believe that Phnom Penh is the top ranking is not by accident. It shows exactly Cambodia's political and economic prosperity in the recent year. In recent year, under leadership of the Prime Minister Hun Sen, Cambodia has achieved repeat the political stabilities and economic development. As an important note of the one-by-one road, Cambodia has become an important emerging market in the South Asia. The one-by-one road policy have attracted more and more Chinese companies to invest in Cambodia. In general, this year, Prime Minister Hun Sen's visit to China also allowed us to see more cooperation and possibilities in the future. This is expect that the Cambodia's GDP will continue to increase at the rate of around 7% of a long time. We are looking forward to the future in Phnom Penh.
So what caused the property rise in Phnom Penh? What does becoming a global first mean to Phnom Penh?
From the perspective of the real estate industry, it is the economic development that promote the population growth, city scale expansion, and the rapid growth of the real estate industry. The real estate industry in Phnom Penh has seen a rapid growth in the recent years. At present, there are at least 100 projects in Phnom Penh, and the avenue price has exceeded $2,000 per square meter. Compared with the city in the other countries, housing prices here are just in the initial phase, which means that here still has a huge room for the future development. As a capital of the country, Phnom Penh has the political, economic, and cultural resources. The Phnom Penh enjoys the prime political, economic, and cultural resources, which are the cause of the development of the country. The outstanding talent for various countries and regions gather here, and it is also an internationally open and inclusive city. Therefore, Phnom Penh's entry into the list is not only a reflection of Cambodia's national strength, but also a compass for the development of the Phnom Penh in the next decade.
In 2018, four ASEAN cities, Phnom Penh of Cambodia, Manila of the Philippines, Singapore, and Bangkok of Thailand, have entered the top 50 of the Global House Price Rise Index 2018. Phnom Penh of Cambodia, Manila of the Philippines, Singapore, and Phuket Island of Thailand have entered the top 50 of Global Property Return on Investment 2018. Rupert, how do you evaluate the real estate market in ASEAN countries? What are the features of the real estate markets comparing to the other countries in the world?
Yeah, well, I think it's a very interesting because ASEAN at the moment, countries, are right on the One Belt, One Road. And there's this giant policy coming out of China which is driving a lot of Chinese investors to follow the winds of government policy and seek out investment opportunities. So I think in the whole, from the globe that I've seen, so Southeast Asia has the #1 preference, is the #1 preferred destination of expanding the Chinese economy, if you like. So I think that is something that's been really key. Within that, clearly, traditionally we've looked at Singapore as the first destination, but the Singapore house prices have been rising for a long time, and they're already at a very high basis. Whereas I think Phnom Penh has actually has shown very strong growth just recently. Whereas the overall base is still very cheap compared to some of the neighboring countries, and I think that's one of the reasons that if you put in 100 renminbi or $100 and to buy something in Cambodia, you're probably going to see a very high rate of return on your investment. We looked at Thailand has traditionally been a very good tourist destination. Singapore has been a very strong investment destination. Prices have already risen quite a lot there, and I think it's now the turn of Cambodia to be an Asian tiger.
Thank you, Rupert. Can you comment on the cities and ASEAN countries on the list? What are the investment features of the real estate markets?
I think Cambodia is in the right place at the right time at the moment. We've also got Thailand, where a lot of Chinese tourists like to travel to, but I haven't been hearing about Chinese tourists in the same way buying property in Thailand or even in Malaysia. I know that Chinese developers have been looking at this very actively in Bali and the rest of Indonesia, but from all the sources of information that I've got at the moment, I think the Chinese investors that I've been talking to are saying that Cambodia today in 2018, 2019 is perhaps a once in 100-year investment opportunity. It's a country with a very strong Buddhist culture. It's a country that's got this strong relationships with China, and it's fast growing as well. And as such, that's presenting a very strong investment opportunity, especially to Chinese today. Well, I think the current climate that I understand is investor is looking for a safe currency. And I think just having Cambodia dollar being tied closely to the US dollar, I think has made a huge opportunity here, if you like. So some of the other Asian currencies are not tied as closely to the US dollar, and that gives them a disadvantage compared to Cambodia today. But then you also have to factor in the maturity of the market. So, Thailand has been a preferred destination for tourism, but also for buying real estate, not just in the last 2 or 3 years, but I would say in the last 10 years. The prices are rising quite high in places like Phuket or some of the other cities as well. And Bangkok, of course, has shown strong growth. But, I think the city of the moment, if you like, is Phnom Penh. You're all very lucky to be there, and I hope that you've taken this good opportunity and appreciate that this is a 1-in-100-year opportunity, because it's very rare in the cycle of a mature economy to see house prices rise at sort of more than 10%. It's extremely rare, and so this really is a very amazing opportunity. For example, I'm a Londoner, so I was coming from London, and there to see house prices rising at 10%, and we see in the last 30 years, maybe 1 or 2 years, once or twice, that's it for 1 year. We're talking like in a generation, this is something that is extremely rare, and here we've seen house prices rise well above 10%. You're looking at, in certain areas, my understanding, it's near 20 and even higher.
Michael, what do you think about ASEAN real estate investment?
Throughout the country of Southeast Asia, there are different development emphasis and economic demand. From the perspective of the real estate enterprises, I have a great confidence not only in the development of the Cambodia, but also have a great interest in the other cities in Southeast Asia. Compared with the Europe, the United States, Japan, and South Korea, whose development started earlier, I tend to focus on those closed cities with a certain city scale and the better quality, economic, and cultural resources on considering their real estate development potential. Because of the one-by-one road, we got to know more about the South Asia countries and South Asia as an emerging market, buying a lot of development opportunities. INF Princess Core is our first project in South Asia, and Cambodia, where an INF city and INF Gori located is our second foreign market. So far, there is projects submitting satisfied performance, which strengthen our confidence to develop relentlessly.
Thank you, Michael. So we welcome you to the next question. So what advantage does the Phnom Penh real estate have compared to the other ASEAN city?
I have observed that except Phnom Penh, there is no other cities for the South Asia and list into the Hurun Global House Price Index 2018. But it doesn't mean that there is a little investment value in other parts of South Asia. According to the usual practice of the economic development, and development reader of each city is different, and they have their special role of play at each our economic phases. In the 2018, Phnom Penh ranked the top. It is not only because of the development of Cambodia's national strength, but also the opening up of the taking investment. People and capital are pumped rapidly into the Phnom Penh real estate market.
Rupert Hoogewerf, what do you think of the decline of the numbers of Chinese cities on the list? What is the reason that China's first-tier city, Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, are not on the list?
Well, I think there's been a huge price hike in real estate in the big cities in China over the last, say, 10 years. So the likes of Beijing, Shenzhen, Shanghai, in 10 years have basically gone up by 10 times. Maybe 15 years, but it's like an internet stock. So house prices here, friends of mine who bought in Shanghai, they would be able to buy, say, 10,000 renminbi, which is about $1,500 of square meter in Shanghai, in the center of Shanghai, and literally in 10 to, say, 12 years, it's gone up by a factor of 10 times. So I think a lot of Chinese investors are now looking to see where they can replicate this, where they can buy good assets at cheap prices. And I think Cambodia as such is one of these choices. But so I think the big cities in China have grown very strongly over the last, say, 2 or 3 years. They've been some of the fastest growth in the world, and I think they just slowed in the last 6 months of 2018. The whole Chinese economy slowed significantly in the second half of 2018. And the cities that we've seen grow very strongly have been these sort of, called them second-tier cities, like Xi'an, like Wuxi. You know, these cities have grown, their real estate prices have grown quite fast, but I think it's the same idea. It's a good asset that is very, relatively speaking, undervalued, and they've been recognized as such. So Xi'an, it's a big city, it's got the terracotta warriors, but the real estate price has been very underperforming compared to some of the other big cities in China. And I presume that's why Xi'an house prices in the last year have seen such strong growth.
Rupert, cities in Canada and Australia have fallen out of the list. What do you think of the changes in the real estate markets in these two countries?
Well, I think the likes of Vancouver, Toronto, Sydney, Melbourne, well, probably Melbourne first and then Sydney, they've had fantastic house price increases in the last, say, 4 years. I mean, pretty much the house price has doubled in the last 3 to 4 years. And I think there's been a lot of government policies to try and control the house prices now. So it's made it harder for Chinese investors to invest into Australia or Canada. It's been harder to get loans. And also from a Chinese investor point of view, it's harder to get your cash out. So let's not forget it. It's very difficult to convert your Chinese renminbi, which is the local Chinese currency, into Canadian or Australian or other dollars. And because the house prices are already very expensive in Australia and Canada, I think they just sort of slowed down. It's completely to be expected. It just can't keep growing at, say, 20-30% a year at one stage in Sydney in certain parts, or in Toronto or in Vancouver. I mean, it just was unsustainable to keep that sort of growth. So it has slowed down, but don't get it wrong. House prices have doubled pretty much in these cities, driven by the Chinese investor over the last, I'd say, 4 years.
Thank Mr. Rupert and Michael for participating in our program tonight. Tomorrow night, we will continue this dialogue. What is the high net worth people? Why do they intend to invest in Phnom Penh property? Many thanks to our audiences for watching Fortune Express special, Top 1 City Phnom Penh. You are welcome to leave a message on our official Facebook page. If you have any comments or ideas, we would like to see and hear your views on the future of Phnom Penh and Cambodia. Thanks again. Goodbye.